Good morning. Welcome to the Administrative Order 360 Stakeholder Input Session on Title 20, Chapter 16, Education Grant and Scholarship Programs. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. The purpose of this meeting is to hear directly from stakeholders and members of the public regarding regulatory burdens or barriers in our current regulatory environment, and those you believe should be addressed as part of Alaska's regulatory reform initiative. Your input is critical in helping us shape meaningful changes that support students, families, and post-secondary institutions. And we will begin our meeting momentarily.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Jackie Hall, and I'm the Program Manager and the Agency Regulations Liaison for the Alaska Commission on Post-Secondary Education. Today, I'm joined by Heather Carlton, Program Support Analyst. Heather has extensive knowledge of our grant and scholarship programs, and she'll be providing a high-level overview of our regulations in this chapter. We also have Cordell Thompson, Program Coordinator and co-host of our meeting today. Cordell will help facilitate the technical aspects of our meeting and the public comment period. So before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to explain how today's session fits into the broader regulatory process. These stakeholder meetings provide an opportunity for us to hear your perspectives before any regulations are drafted, amended, or repealed. Your feedback is essential to help us identify any pain points, redundancies, as well as opportunities to improve clarity in our regulatory environment. However, keep in mind that your feedback does not guarantee that every suggestion will be adopted. This process is not the formal public comment process under the Administrative Procedures Act. That process will begin later after draft regulations have undergone legal review and have been formally approved for public comment. As part of our regulatory reform plan, ACPE will create a list of all comments we receive during the stakeholder process and document whether we intend to implement each recommendation. If we do not adopt a recommendation, we are required to explain why not. This is why your feedback today is so valuable. It will directly shape ACPE's analysis and inform you of the steps that ACPE will take for regulatory reform. So here's how our meeting will proceed today. First, we'll provide a high-level overview of the regulations for this meeting. Then we'll move into the comment period where you'll have an opportunity to share your input. All questions received during this comment period will be summarized and made available on ACPE's website, as well as the Alaska Online Public Notice System. All comments will be summarized and included in ACPE's reform plan. We'll provide instructions when we get to the public comment portion of our meeting today. But please know, if you prefer not to provide oral testimony, we encourage you to submit written feedback. And to make that a little easier, we've developed a survey that provides a link to each section of the regulations for your review and ability to provide input. Of course, you do not need to comment on every section. Feel free to comment on only those regulations that are of particular interest to you. Written comments can also be submitted through the Alaska Online Public Notice System or by email, and we'll put links to these resources in the comment box for you. The comment period will remain open for 30 days following this session to allow stakeholders to submit additional written feedback. All right, so getting started with our presentation, and as background, Administrative Order 360 is Alaska's regulatory reform initiative issued on August 4th by Governor Dunleavy to improve the quality, transparency, and efficiency of Alaska's regulatory environment. This initiative calls for a statewide review of existing administrative regulations to reduce regulatory burdens by 25% by the end of 2027. ACPE's administrative regulations are in Title 20 of the Alaska Administrative Code under miscellaneous boards and commissions. And today we'll be going over Chapter 16, Education Grant and Scholarship Programs. This section of Alaska's regulation establishes the framework for state education grants and scholarships, including the Alaska Education Grant and the Alaska Performance Scholarship. Chapter 16 outlines the purpose, eligibility requirements, and administration of these programs, focusing on both need-based and merit-based financial aid for Alaska residents pursuing post-secondary education. The regulations in Chapter 16 include Article 1, Education Grant Program, Article 2, the Alaska Performance Scholarship Program, and Article 3 covering general provisions. As we walk through these sections today, we encourage you to think about whether the current regulations create unnecessary burdens, whether they meet today's needs, and what changes might better serve schools, students, and families. I also want to make note that ACPE has made changes to certain provisions in Chapter 16 and that these changes are pending approval from the Alaska Department of Law. Once approved, these changes are generally effective 30 days after the date of filing with the Lieutenant Governor's Office. And we anticipate that our current changes will be published sometime after the 1st of next year. Based on the timing of our current regulations project, this presentation will not include those changes, but we will provide a high-level overview of the existing provisions. If you're interested in following along, we'll enter links for each of the articles in the chat. I'm going to turn it over to Heather now, who will walk us through Chapter 16, starting with the Education Grant Program, which covers 20 AAC 16005 through 16.050.
Thank you, Jackie. Article 1 is specific to the Alaska or the Education Grant Program. 20 AAC 16.05 or 005 covers the purpose. The Alaska Education Grant provides need-based aid to eligible Alaska residents attending approved institutions covering education costs not met by other non-loan federal aid. 20 AAC 16.010 is regarding applicant eligibility. This section defines who is eligible to receive an Alaska education grant. Applicants must be Alaska residents, U.S. citizens, or permanent residents, and enrolled in an undergraduate or vocational program at a qualified institution. They must not already hold a bachelor's degree and must meet academic progress standards if they are continuing students. 20 AAC 16.015 covers application priority. Alaska education grant applications are prioritized when funds are limited. Awards are given based on the following criteria in this order: lowest expected family contribution from the FAFSA, returning students who previously received the grant and are meeting academic progress standards, full-time or on-time enrollment status, and earliest FAFSA submission date. A continuing award recipient is defined as someone who received the grant in the previous academic year. 20 AAC 16.021 is regarding institutional eligibility and responsibilities. This section sets the criteria and responsibilities for Alaska institutions to participate in the state's education grant program. Eligible institutions must be located in Alaska, enter into an agreement with the state commission, comply with financial and regulatory standards, submit required reports, verify student eligibility, and allow audits. Institutions risk losing eligibility if they fail to meet these requirements or are found to lack the capacity to properly manage the grant program. 20 AAC 16.030 is regarding application procedure. To apply for an Alaska Education Grant, students must submit a completed FAFSA that generates a valid institutional student information record, also known as an ISER. Additional information may be requested to verify eligibility. School staff must certify that applicants meet eligibility criteria, including enrollment in an eligible program at least half-time, possession of a high school diploma or GED, and demonstrate financial need. The Commission notifies institutions of eligible students and publishes an annual grant processing calendar. 20 AAC 16.034 covers priority ranking of applicants. Grant awards are primarily based on applicants' financial need. The Commission offers increased grant amounts to eligible students who are enrolled as on-time students or who graduated from certain designated high schools or districts. A portion of funds is reserved annually for these students, and applicants must claim eligibility by June 30th of their first award year. Any unused reserve funds are then reallocated to other eligible applicants. 20 AAC 16.037 covers computation of financial need and grant amounts. Grant awards are calculated based on students' financial need, determined by the FAFSA data and enrollment status. Awards cannot exceed students' unmet need or annual maximum, which is up to $3,000 for full-time students or up to $4,000 for those qualifying for increased awards. Part-time students may receive prorated amounts. Students in short-term vocational certificate programs may be eligible for up to the lesser of the maximum grant or their financial need. Grants may be transferred if a student changes institutions before disbursements. The Commission considers available funding when setting maximum awards each year. 20 AAC 16.040 covers grant disbursement and refund. This section governs how the Alaska Education Grant funds are distributed to institutions and students. The Commission distributes grant money to schools after the deadline for course enrollment changes without penalty. Schools disperse funds to installments aligned with their education calendar and must return unused funds within 30 days. Schools must refund the Commission for any over awards or student refunds exceeding $50 within 30 days. Grant funds cannot be dispersed to students on leave unless the relevant program period is completed. Institution must verify student identity before dispersing funds. 20 AAC 16.050 covers complaints and appeals. This section explains that complaints and appeals related to the Alaska Education Grant Program are handled according to the process outlined in 20 AAC 15.915. Appeals involving academic standing or progress are addressed by the student's school following its satisfactory academic progress policies. Duplicates. That concludes Article 1 for the Alaska Education Grant. We'll move on to Article 2 for the Alaska Performance Scholarship, starting with 20 AAC 16.205 through 16.250. Article 2, Alaska Performance Scholarship. 20 AAC 16.205 covers the purpose. The Alaska Performance Scholarship provides financial awards to qualified high school students who complete a rigorous curriculum and make timely progress towards a post-secondary certificate or degree. 20 AAC 16.210 discusses applicant eligibility. To be eligible for the Alaska Performance Scholarship, applicants must meet state statutory requirements, maintain academic progress by completing required semester credits based on enrollment status, that's full-time versus half-time, and uphold minimum GPA or satisfactory progress standards. Scholarship funds are not awarded for private pilot license programs or most out-of-state study unless part of a formal exchange. Final eligibility is certified by the student's institution. 20 AAC 16.215 covers application procedure. Students eligible for the Alaska Performance Scholarship must submit a completed FAFSA resulting in an ICER by June 30th of the year they plan to enroll if attending a Title IV authorized institution. Students at institutions not authorized under Title IV must submit a commission-approved alternate application by the same deadline. Supplemental information may be required to verify eligibility. Late applications may be considered by the executive director if submitted before the school year ends and funding allows. 20 AAC 16.220 discusses a computation of scholarship awards, maximums, and minimum amounts. The Alaska Performance Scholarship Award amounts are based on enrollment status, with full-time students eligible for a full amount and half-time students eligible for 50%. Full-time enrollment is defined differently for undergraduate, graduate students, and career and technical school students. Scholarship amounts are reduced by other non-loan financial aid and Alaska education grants. Institutions must certify enrollment by the deadline for awards to be guaranteed. If funds are limited, awards are paid pro rata, prioritize students certified before the deadline. Students may receive multiple awards only if completing multiple career and technical certificates. 20 AAC 16.225 discusses award disbursements and refunds. The commission distributes funds to eligible institutions annually, generally after July 15th for programs starting August 1st or later. Institutions must verify student identity before dispersing funds and may only disperse directly to students under limited conditions. Scholarship payments are made in at least 2 installments, contingent on certification of the student's continued eligibility. Students must certify student eligibility, residency, and ensure disbursements do not exceed actual attendance costs. Refunds or overpayments above $50 must be returned to the commission promptly. 20 AAC 16.230 discusses applicant loss of eligibility and requirements to regain eligibility. If a student fails to meet the required annual credits or GPA under 20 AAC 16.210, they become ineligible for future scholarship disbursements. Eligibility can be regained by meeting both the credit and GPA requirements. 20 AAC 16.235 discusses institutional eligibility and responsibilities. Eligible institutions must be authorized or accredited, enter into an agreement with the state, verify student eligibility, and demonstrate financial responsibility through audits or bonding. They must also be physically located in Alaska and comply with reporting and administrative standards. Failure to meet these requirements, including audit issues or loss of accreditation, can result in disqualification from the program. 20 AAC 16.237 covers institutional advisory program. To qualify, the advisory program must be mandatory or designed to help students make informed course selections, stay on track academically, reduce time to graduation, and get the most benefit from their studies. It must include advising on course selection, academic progress, time to completion, career pathways, and support for personal challenges. The program can be delivered in person or electronically, but institutions must be able to document that each student has participated. 20 AAC 16.238 covers courses and credits. This section requires institutions in the APS program to publish expected program completion timeline in their catalog, identify required course sequences and scheduling limitations, offer free alternatives such as independent study or transfers if required courses aren't available as scheduled, to keep the student on track. 20 AAC 16.240 covers complaints and appeals. Complaints and appeals related to the administration of the Alaska Performance Scholarship fall under 20 AAC 16.205 through 20 AAC 16.250. Those are handled in accordance with procedures under 20 AAC 15.915. 20 AAC 16.250 covers the cost of attendance. This defines the allowable costs covered by the Alaska Performance Scholarship for full-time students. This includes tuition, fees, books, transportation, room and board, and approved personal expenses. For part-time students, it covers only tuition, fees, and required books and supplies. That concludes Article 2, specific to the Alaska Performance Scholarship. Our next section is Article 3 for general provisions, and it includes 20 AAC 16.900. 20 AAC 16.900 has definitions. In this section, it provides definitions used in this chapter referencing 20 AAC 15.990 for most terms. Key definitions include academic year, which is defined as in Federal Regulation 30 CFR 668.3. Expected family contribution, the amount a student or family is expected to pay as reported on the FAFSA. ISER, which is the institutional student information record generated from the FAFSA data. School year, same as academic year. Alaska Performance Scholarship Program, the scholarship established under Alaska Statute 14.43.810 through 14.43.849. Lastly, credit hour. It's based on a unit of collegiate instruction defined by the institution's accrediting body. That concludes Article 3 for general provisions, and I'll turn it back over to Jackie, or to Cordell.
Hi, my name is Cordell. We will now begin the public testimony portion of the meeting. I just want to go over a few guidelines before we start. If you wish to submit a formal question or comment, please go ahead and enter your name into the chat box. If you are participating via telephone, we will unmute your line and ask you to provide your name and whether you would like to submit a formal question or comment. And if so, we will add your name to the list. When your name is called, please unmute yourself, state your name and affiliation, and share your question or comment. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to provide public testimony. And if you prefer, you also have the option of submitting comments in writing via the survey, email, or through the Alaska Online Public Notice System. The comment period will remain open for 30 days following this session to allow stakeholders to submit additional written feedback. Please remember that we are here to listen, and we will not be engaging in debate or responding directly to comments or questions during this session. All questions received during the comment period will be summarized and made available on ACPE's website and the Alaska Online Public Notice System. All public comments will be captured for the agency's record and considered as part of our AO 360 regulatory reform plan. And we will now take a short pause in order to give participants time to sign up for public comment in the chat box. Just to give everyone just another reminder real quick. If you do want to provide any public testimony, please go ahead and enter your name into the chat box. If for some reason you are having any problems with the chat box, you can also go ahead and use the raise your hand feature, and we will call on you to provide your public testimony. We'll go ahead and give another couple minutes to see if there's anybody interested in providing testimony. But just go ahead and let us know if you're having any issues with the chat box or any of the other features.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. It looks like we've received no interest or request for public testimony today. As a reminder, the comment period will remain open for 30 days. We encourage you to share additional thoughts in writing to ensure that we capture all perspectives. ACPE will review all stakeholder input and determine whether each recommendation can be implemented and explain our reasoning for those that we cannot. This analysis will be completed before draft regulations move forward into the formal public comment process under the Administrative Procedures Act. Your engagement today is essential in shaping reforms that matter for Alaska students, families, educators, and post-secondary institutions. ACPE will be conducting additional stakeholder meetings on Chapter 14, which covers the Alaska Student Loan Corporation. That's scheduled tomorrow, October 22nd, from 1:30 to 3:00 p.m. We will also cover Chapter 17, the regulation of post-secondary education institutions, and that's scheduled for Tuesday, October 28th, from 10 a.m. to noon. Chapter 18, covering the WICHE Professional Student Exchange Loan Program, as well as Chapter 19, covering financial support for the WWAMI program, will be presented Wednesday, October 29th, from 10 a.m. to noon, if you're interested in participating. And on behalf of ACPE, thank you for your time and commitment. We will now conclude this public stakeholder meeting for Title 20, Chapter 16 of the Administrative Code on Tuesday, October 21st at 10:32 a.m. Thank you.